Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Zoom call of Lit in English. And this is Understand Your Inner Self, Materialize Happiness. And this is our season three of the program. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for joining us. And this is the program to share these amazing knowledge in English. And our goal is to share this amazing knowledge to every corner of the world. And I would like to personally thank you for joining us, for making this journey possible. And through your presence, through your contribution, through your story, together we will understand these amazing knowledge better. And again, I really, really appreciate you being here with us. And let's get to it. All right. So just a quick recap on what we did yesterday. Yesterday we went over the first principle, which is called the principle of light. And through this principle, we realized that as one simple way to solve any problem, any issue, is to apply the principle of light. And we can see problem as in a dark room, and we can just simply turn the light on, turn the switch on, and we turn the dark room into the light room instead of focusing on darkness itself. And we quickly realized that if one was to focus on the darkness, then we are reacting to the problem, or we call it reactive. But if we take action to prepare for whatever might be coming up next, then we will be more proactive. And even though it is very simple, but this is how we can differentiate between a person who going through life with confidence, with calmness, compared to the one who constantly have to react it to probably in life that they might not be aware of. And thanks to these amazing knowledge, we realize that if we were to just simplify all problems that we have to deal with in life, we we can simplify it into four categories. And the first category would be the inner self, and then the second category is health. The third would be relationship, and right up top we have finance or money. And by understanding this, it is easier for us to be proactive, because instead of waiting for problem of inner self occurring to us, or problems from the health category occurring, or the problem that coming from the relationship of the finance part, we can be more proactive. We can be prepared. We can have a plan before the problem occurs. So when it does occurs, we would know what to do. And the story of the old man and his son demonstrate greatly that. And we also introduce the importance of understanding your inner self, because the name of the program is Understand Your Inner Self. And there's a second part, which is building a happier life, or material happiness, whichever we like to call it. But the important thing is we need to understand our inner self. We need to be proactive rather than reactive. And thanks to the guru, the teacher that have shown us the way, and show us that we we need to we need to learn about our inner self. We need to understanding our inner self, because inner self is in fact the foundation of our house or of our life. And I drew another house here to demonstrate that the importance of a foundation, because through a strong foundation, we can build a house as tall as we want to. And if we were to observe a skyscraper in our city, we will realize that the tallest point always going toward the center of the foundation. And I also use the example of how there are buildings who doesn't have a strong foundation. They can only build too too far, because if they were to build any higher, then the building would collapse on itself. And unfortunately, in life, when we wasn't aware of this principle, about this knowledge, we often build our house from the top down. We tend to focus on finance, and we give up our health, our relationship, and a lot of time our inner self, trying to make the money needed to support ourselves and our family. And doing that, we often observe that the house tend to collapse on itself. And I also share the story of how people who win lottery, prior to winning the lottery, they tend to have a more stable life. But as soon as they receive in such a large sum of money and they didn't know what to do with it, and they tend to just like eat a lot, or just going crazy with the money. And when the money is no longer there, the life tend to be worse than before. And that is also to demonstrate the importance of having a very, very strong foundation, very, very strong inner self. And going to on that note, there's one more story that I would like to tell to demonstrate the importance of this, and then we are going to move to today's main topic, which is the seven holistic wealth. And the story that I would like to share with you, and I have shared with you this many times in the previous season, but it is extremely important that I want to make sure that I share it with everyone every time. And it is the story of Mr. Donald Trump. And as many of us know, Donald Trump is a very, very famous billionaire. He made his billion on real estate investment, and he was a billionaire in the 70s and in the 80s by investing in real estate. He was very, very popular in the New York area. And the story began for late 80s and early 90s, when there's a huge shift in the real estate market. And because most of Mr. Trump investment was in real estate, he he ended up because of the house market crashed. A lot of the real estate that he owned declined in value, and he ended up the money that he invested in, he ended up lost all of it, and he's still owning to the bank the amount equivalent to another billion. And during that time, a lot of his close friend was in similar situation, and a lot of them pretty much just giving up on their investment, and they went through the hard time. But instead of giving up on his investment, Mr. Trump decided to do something very, very interesting. Mr. Trump realized that he still he still know how to invest in real estate. He know that he still have the relationship. He's know that he still have the connection, and he know that the bank would like to make their money back, and they would give him the opportunity to turn his investment around. And he realized that during the difficult time, it is actually there's opportunity in there as well. And he made up his mind that he is going to make a comeback instead of giving up. And within only 6 months, he was able to sign the biggest deal ever in a real estate market. And only 3 years from that point, he was able to make 3 billion from that one contract. And the moral of the story that I would like to tell you is, as successful as Mr. Trump was, his world was collapsing on itself. And there was many reasons for it. But it was clear to himself and his group of friends was his success outgrow his personal development, because at that point his inner self can only support about $1 billion. He wasn't ready to move to the next level, and because he would try and pass his limit, the entire career collapsed on itself. If you can help me imagine like a house, right? It was fine until you put more weight on it, and then the house collapsed on itself, and then you ended up spend extra time to clean it up first, and then you build it from the ground up again. And this is one of the reasons all the guru and all the visionary leader, they have a very important, very famous quote saying that they are rather doing it right the first time than spending extra time to clean it up and then have to rebuild it again. And the story of Mr. Donald Trump is extremely important because it demonstrates that we need to build a strong foundation. And rather than having to learn from our mistake without knowing the way apply the law of the world and without understanding all of the principle, we have to learn from our mistake. But instead of that, we can learn from others. We have the privilege to learn this important information to apply it. And in Mr. Donald Trump case, he quickly learned his lesson, and he quickly realized that it is him that he needed to invest in rather than invested in other people or invested in other project. He quickly come to realization that it was him who built up that billion, and he make up his mind to rebuild it. He make up his mind to work on his inner self. He was becoming a bigger person, and thanks to that, he was able to grow his empire to an even larger scale, and he was able to maintain it. And from that one lesson, his development has been increasing over time. And there's a secret to it. There is a secret to the success of all entrepreneur, all famous visionary leader like Mr. Donald Trump. And that is today a main topic. That would be the 7 holistic wealth. So let's take back to the house, and let's call this the lit house because we will light it up to make sure that darkness will be move away because we bring light into it. So if we were to simplify all problem in life, we will have the 4 main category, which is the inner self, our health, our relationship, and our finance. But how can we maintain those four category, what kind of tool, what kind of information, what should we work on, and that would be the name of today's topic. And I would like to invite you to write the title in the bottom of the page. And this is the 7 holistic wealth. I would like to invite you to draw a house, but this time we will make it a little bit bigger. And let's make a hexagon right in the middle. Right. And at the bottom, just like before, we will write the word inner self. On our left, let's write the word health. And on our right, let's write the word relation. This is the representation of relationship. Then up top, let's draw some dollar sign, represent that this is the finance part of it. So the 7 holistic wealth is what will help us being proactive. This is how we are able to stand above any problem in life if we can be ready, if we can have our preparation for this 7 element. And the first one is, let me find the right color for this. Let's use green. So at the bottom, let's write the word wisdom. And then try the middle. Let's do virtual. Then on our left side, this is presence. And on our right, it'll be nobility. At the top, this would be material. On our right, this is capability. And finally, on our top left, this will be physics. And this is the seventh element that will help us being proactive when it's come to the four big category in life. And there's a um, very tight connection between these four elements. And for the seven holistic well, they are all interconnected. And if you notice, right at the corner of the house, we would see the word presence. And this had both of the element of health and inner self. So what is present? Present is kind of like when someone walk into a room, you kind of like able to feel their presence, their existence, and it is actually very powerful. And back to the example of Donald Trump, his friend often say that when he walked to a room, people will feel his presence. People will know right away that, oh, it is Donald Trump. He is there. He kind of owned the room. He kind of had that energy about him that they know that a business deal going to be due in that meeting. And that is a present. It is something that about your health, and it is also about your inner self. Health, and then how how healthy you look. Well, for the inner self is you're confident, and the wisdom part is one of the elements that connect directly to the inner self. And wisdom is the body of knowledge and principle that develop within a specific society or period. And that is the information that can help us understand our inner self. And toward the right hand side, we have nobility, and it is connect between the relationship and the inner self, because nobility is having, showing, or coming from a personal quality that other people admire, such as honesty, generosity, courage. And it is a character from a person which help them build their relationship. And then virtue are attitudes, the disposition or the character that enable us to be and to act in a way that develop our potential, and they enable us to pursue the idea we have adopted. And words can describe virtue would be honesty, courage, compassion, generosity, fidelity, integrity, fairness. And these are the characteristic of a person that can demonstrate the wealth that they may be owning. And let's try another piece of paper to see the connection between the seven holistic wealth. And if you notice, I draw this in different color because there's a connection between the bottom half of the house and the top half. And that would be, let's write the word again. We have wisdom, and then presence, and then virtue, and nobility. And this four holistic well can can be put under what I would like to call immaterial group. Now, what do I mean by immaterial? Immaterial is something that is intangible, which means we cannot really count it or measure it. And that is exactly what wisdom, presence, virtue, and nobility are. Because even though we kind of have an idea of what they are, but how can we measure it in a person? We can try to compare one person to another, but it's kind of hard to say that, oh, that person have a 9 point of wisdom, or Mr. A is having 10 point of present, or Mr. C have like only 5 point in virtual. It is kind of hard to measure it. And that is part of the reason sometimes it's kind of hard to truly understand our inner self, because it is something that we can't really measure. But thanks to this model, we will be able to kind of materialize it and have an understanding of what they are, so that we can slowly working on it. And in order to have a fuller understanding of it, it is important to mention the other group as well, which are capability, physique, and material. And this I would put it under the group material. And the material for in the group is different from the material within the group. Because when I talk about material, I mean it is like a house that you own, a car that you own, how much money that you have. And when we talk about the group of material, we meant that it is something tangible. It is something that we can measure. For example, if we look at the material or the thing that you own, we can see like how much money you have. Do you have a house or two, or maybe a car or two? In the case of Mr. Donald Trump, we know that he was a billionaire, and we was able to measure it. So material again is so the physical thing that you own, like houses, car. What about physique? Physique is like your body, like the physical strength, and it's generally a state of health or well-being, and the ability to perform aspects of a sport or occupation. And what about capability? Capability is your ability to do something, and it could be a job, or it could simply what you are capable of, and that can be measured. And these are the seven holistic wealth. And by working on this, we will be able to be more proactive, and we will be able to face any challenges in life. Because just a quick reminder, just like what we have mentioned back in the sixth barrier, the sixth barrier and our inner self, this little stick figure guy, we can imagine it. We could see it like a chicken egg, because If the impact is from the outside in, that would mean we are about to be fruit. But however, if the fruit is coming from the inside out, then that will be life, because that will be like a little chick will be born. And understanding this, the seven holistic wealth is something that we can work on. They are the forces that will help us breaking through the sixth barrier. And they are the seven elements that we can focus on. It is kind of like a guideline to help us create a holistic life. And therefore, the seven holistic well is the direction, the way, the journey for us to get to a holistic life. And these seven elements, it is interconnected. And understanding this, we will quickly realize that everyone is different, right? Because if you were to look inward to your life, and if you can compare that to other, we will realize that we all are different. Some people, they have more material to start with. Let's say they was born in a wealthier family, but they might not have the physique because they just don't have the health that is as good compared to other. So their material is a little bit more compared to the other person. So they might better off start from the material, and they can use their material, like money, for example, to work on the other area, which will give them a way to get closer to that holistic life. And understanding the connection between these seven, it is much easier to work on seven of these at the same time rather than just focus on one. And if you remember my story about how I was trying to lose weight when I work on my physique, work on my health and my physique, right? I It was working only for a short while, and then I no longer making any progress. But if I were to work on all seven of these at the same time, if I were to work on my physique, and then I also try to increase my capability by doing a proper exercise, then I will be able to increase my capability. And by increasing my capability at work, that will also help increase my material, because I will increase the amount of money that I make. And by taking my job more serious, I will be able to increase my wisdom of my job, or more virtue of what needed to be done at the workplace. And I can also build relationship with increase my nobility at work, and I will have more presence at work. And that is just one of the potential category that we can use as an example. And as you can see, the seven holistic wealth, you can apply it to anything. And what I just said was the example about a job, a career. What about relationship? If you have like a nicer body, right? Usually people tend to hang out with good looking people, because it is a sign that they taken care of themselves. And people usually connect beauty to confidence. So if someone is confident, if they have a beautiful inner self, that's usually show um, the outside as well. And that's what we call present. When people have their present, we kind of feel their physical body in combination of their inner self. Therefore, by working on physique and on present, it's also help increase your relationship. And if you are a wise person, you will be able to give people better advices that they need when they come to you. And doing that, it will help increase the relationship, and also virtue and nobility that can also help with relation. And similarly, by building relationship, it will increase your capability, and it's also increase your material. And if we can consciously combining these seven to any area, namely the big four category of finance, relationship, health, and inner self, you would be able to increase the effectiveness or increasing the quality of each of those categories over time. And thanks to the teacher or the guru, they give us a very, very interesting formula. And what they said is that we need to materialize all of the immaterial. And we need to immaterialize our material. And what do they mean by that? And I'm going to demonstrate that with a very successful story of a watchmaking company, and that company is Rolex. So when Rolex was founded, they make very good watches, but they didn't quite make good money off of those Rolex, and they have a marketing strategy. They know that usually when people buy a watch, they only need it to figure out what time it is, and there isn't much money to be made out of that. But Rolex have a different strategy. They they lean toward the luxurious market, and they quickly realize that by telling their customer of how nice the watch is, of how detailed, how much time they put into it, and the quality of the materials, they was able to increase the price of the watch. And people still buy it. People love it. And then later they realized that instead of selling 100 watches for $20, they can actually have a limited series where they can sell one watch for 1,000. And that business model is very, very successful. They spend a tons of money to get famous people to advertise for the watch, and they spend money for the movie producer to have their actor wearing the watches, and the watch becoming very symbolistic. It is a demonstration of wealth. It is a demonstration of wisdom. It is a representation of nobility, because only noble people can afford to wear that watch. And it demonstrates capability, material, and people often think of it as a very high social status. And what Rolex did and becoming very successful at it was that they add the immaterial element to their material, which is a watch. And by doing so, they increase the value of the watch. And another example that we can think of is, let's say we buy some really nice like food that our parents love, and we bring it home for them. But if we can just like give it to them and tell them to just like, hey, like here, eat it. And then then there wasn't much to say. But if we can tell them that, we just we have a very long day at work, but we was thinking of them, and and we realized that it's been a while that they have not eat their favorite food, so we spend the extra time to go out of our way to buy it because we know that they love it very much, and it has been a while that we have been able to eat with them. And by adding the element into the food, is definitely increasing the value of the food that you provide. And this goes for any other element in life. And the reason behind it is there are immaterial things and there are material things. And there are value for both of it. And it is kind of like the cup half full. If we have a way to materialize all immaterial things and immaterialize all material things, it is like an image of filling up the other half of the cup, and it's help us understanding about the holistic element of the world around us. Because usually we tend to focus more toward the material, because most of us we only use the science the scientific reference system, where we only believe in what we can see. We only believe in things that we can measure, and that is fine because it's kind of hard to measure the intangible things. And that's part of the reason most people tend to focus on financial part of life. They would they would trade their health for money. They would trade their relationship for money. And a lot of time they go through the stress to make money, because to them they can only understand the material things. But by looking at this picture, looking at the seven holistic wealth, we quickly understand that material is only one of the seven important wealth that we need to acquire in life. And not only that, when we focus on finance, when we focus on material, we are focusing on the top of the house, the top of the building. And that is not stable. That is more of a reactive way, not proactive way. Therefore, by understanding the seven holistic wealth, understanding the the two word of material and the word of the immaterial things, we unlock the potential that we might never even thought of. And there's a very famous quote I would like to share with you guys. And in the scientist community, there's a huge debate, and it has been proven that throughout years of doing research, we only understand less than 10% of the brain capability, like what we are capable of. And some scientists even argue that we only use less than 10% of our brain power. And when we talk about the mind or the brain, that is the inner self, and that is the immaterial. And because we have such a little understanding of it, it is very intangible. We can't really measure it. But if we can define it, we will be able to increase the value of it. We will be able to increase our wisdom. We will be able to increase our present, our virtue, our nobility, and we can become more fulfilling. And by doing that, we are actually materialize the immaterial things. And material like money, like wealth, if we can use the formula of what Rolex did, we will be able to expand our market much quicker because we are now fulfilling the immaterial element of that business model. It's not a watch is no longer simply a watch. A watch is the representation of a person's wisdom. When you wear an expensive watch, it also show your presence when you walk to the room. That watch is also a representation of virtue, of nobility. And that watch also represent capability of a person. And by playing advertisement of great looking people wearing that Rolex watch, it is also a representation of physique. And that brings back to my point of the importance of the seven holistic wealth, because the seven holistic wealth is it is all interconnected. It is the representation of the two words that we might not be even aware of. But once we are aware of the two words, the material world and the immaterial world, and how these two have a huge influence on one another, we will be able to make the conscious choice to improve them, to work on seven of them. And it might be difficult at first, it might be confusing at first, but that is exactly what this program is for. This is understanding your inner self, materialize happiness, or understanding your inner self, materialize the seven holistic wealth. In that way, you will be able to materialize that holistic wealth. And this is the very foundation of the three principles that we are going to learn in the next couple of days. And through that, we will be able to have a greater understanding of what we needed to do to materialize the immaterial and immaterialize the material. And an easier way to look at it is we can use the principle of light, right? We can just light up the room. So imagine the seven holistic wealth. These are like the seven dark room of our life. And I said dark room because prior to these knowledge, we don't even know that they are there. We don't even know how important they are. But once we have this great understanding of it, what we can do is we can learn to lit up the room. And let me make sure I find the right color to demonstrate this. So let lit up some candle. My orange. Yeah. this is a simple thing that we can do. We can just lit up our dark room, and we can start from the inner self, from wisdom. And then we can also lit up the presence room. And when I say we lit up, pretty much we bring light into the room. And the beautiful thing about bringing light into the room is that once our dark room is lit up, we can actually make it brighter. Because somewhere deep within us, once we can define what the seven holistic well are, we already have it. We already becoming aware of it. And the remaining thing is how can we make it brighter? How can we brighten our candle? And this is part of the reason we have given the name of lit, because what we want to do is we want to lit up our dark house once we becoming aware of it. And the reason we have to lit up all seven of this is because if you look at a candle or a light, it doesn't matter how bright the light is, the bottom of the light is still dark. And by lit up all seven of these seven holistic wealth, we will ensure that we will have a very bright room, and these rooms are supporting one another. And this is what helping us getting to our seven holistic wealth, which will contribute to the holistic life. And this might appear to be very simple, but let me repeat that this is a formula that you can apply to any area in life. It doesn't have to be a watch. It could be any other career. When we learn to lit up our dark room, or once we know how to add the material value to the immaterial thing, or when we learn to add the material value to our immaterial things, people can feel it more, and we will be able to add more value to it. And most importantly, we will have a greater understanding of our inner self. And if you notice, I think this is kind of like the seven holistic wealth here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I kind of like draw that on purpose, because just like a building, we need to build it from the ground up. So what we are doing is we are on our journey to build the foundation. We are on the journey to understanding our inner self. And once we understand our inner self, we will start it to name the seven holistic wealth, and we can start to build it from the ground up. So imagine that by lighting up the room, we can also light up our skyscraper as we building it up. And we will know what we need to work on And eventually we will be able to fill it all up. And this is something that I am very thankful for, the name lit that come to us, because when I look at our community, I can see the image that each one of us is like a candle that shine in the dark sky. It's kind of like the star in the sky. By itself, it's not very bright. You can barely see it. But if you add them together, if you put them together, they will shine brighter, right? Or if you ever fly on an airplane and look down to a city, you can see like a big city is like it's all lit up. You can see like a small section of it. You can see some light, but when you go to a bigger city, you can see more light and it is brighter. And if we can zoom out, if we can go even higher up, looking down, we can see the beautiful picture of many lit up city in the world map. And it is one of the most beautiful things. And that is the image of our goal, of our journey. Because what we do is we have the privilege to learn to know about this amazing knowledge. And we are going to spread this to every corner of the world because this will help change lives. Because just like the old man and his son, we learn how to lit up our dark room. We know how to turn our dark room into our light room. We learn to be proactive rather than reactive. We will be prepared for any challenges that life might challenge us because our inner self is like a little stick figure like this, and it's being surrounded by the six barriers. And just like a chicken egg, if the forces is impacting on it from the outside in, that would mean life is about to use us as food. But however, if the force is coming from the inside out, if we make the conscious decision to work on our seven holistic wealth, then we make the decision to give in ourselves life. And just like the principle of light said in many ancient texts, life is the source of life. Right? We have we have life on Earth thanks to the energy of the sun. Therefore, when we lit up our dark room, something beautiful started, and that is our inner self. By lit up our dark room, we will be able to grow. We will be able to have our transformation. We will be able to break through the six barrier, and we will be able to acquire the seven holistic wealth. And with that, we lit up our lit house, and we will have that holistic life. And, and that, my friend, is the seven holistic wealth. For the next coming up days, we will introduce the other three principles. And through the principle, you will have a greater understanding of what these seven holistic wealth is, how we can access them, how we can expand our inner self. And from there, we will take control of our life. And not only that, we will be able to show people around us that it is possible and we will be able to change lives. And thank you so much for joining me. Usually I like to keep the presentation within 1 hour so that my friend in the US can spend time with their family. And I know my friends in Vietnam, they have to take a nap too, right? The wonderful lunch nap. So just like usual, thank you very much for joining me on this journey. Is exceptional, meaningful to me to have you here to go on this journey. And like usual, thank you very much. And let's go out with a song.